Hello there. This is your girl, Valerie Mason Chase, back with another episode of Marriage Minute brought to you by Marriage Beyond the Breach. When an affair has occurred in your marriage, there are certain things that you want to avoid. That's our topic on today's episode of Marriage Minute. When an affair has occurred in your marriage and you're on the road to affair recovery, there are absolutely some things that the couple needs to do as a couple and individually on that recovery road. However, in addition to that, and just as important, are things for the couple to avoid while they're going through that recovery process. One of the things to avoid is to try to take a shortcut. Shortcuts don't work. Shortcuts don't last. Your marriage didn't get to the state that it's currently in overnight. And you're not going to get through the recovery process overnight either. Affair recovery can be as long as it is painful. It can be as long as it is difficult. So don't try to take shortcuts or to rush the process. You want to make sure that you are taking your time and going through the process in order to address the issues that either led to an environment being created that allowed an affair to occur, or you want to make sure that time is spent exploring with the betrayer what inside of them led to the affair. What led them to think that it was okay, or that they could get away with it, or that their spouse wouldn't mind. All of those things need to be explored, and all of it takes time. Another thing you want to avoid when you are going through affair recovery is minimizing. The betrayer should never minimize the feelings of the betrayed spouse. You shouldn't say things like, well, it was only one time. Oh, it didn't mean anything. I don't know why you're all bent out of shape. Get yourself together. Get over it. No. Don't minimize their feelings. Their feelings are real. It may have, according to your word, meant nothing to you, but I can guarantee you it means a whole lot to your spouse, and they are having a whole litany of emotions that they're having to deal with. So you do not want to minimize the feelings of the betrayed spouse. You also don't want to minimize the feelings of the betrayer, because he or she, they're going through their own array of emotions. They're dealing with guilt and shame and remorse. So on either side, there should not be any minimizing. Another thing you want to avoid is being prideful, because when you're prideful, you're unteachable, and when you're unteachable, you're not going to seek help. You're not going to go to a counselor. You won't try to get a mentor. You won't go to a self-help group. You won't listen to a sermon. You won't read a book. You won't go to a workshop. And all of these things can be instrumental in helping during the affair recovery process. But when you're prideful, your pride will not allow you to do that. And you'll end up doing what I call white knuckling it and trying to do it all on your own and trying to do it through sheer willpower. It doesn't work. Another thing you want to avoid is blame. The betrayer should not blame the betrayed spouse for the affair. Well, if you had more sex with me, I wouldn't have had an affair. If you had cooked more, if you had been home more, if you had done A, B, C, X, Y, Z, I wouldn't have had an affair. No, don't blame the betrayed spouse for your decision. Because when it comes down to it, The affair happened because of a choice that someone made, that the betrayer made. No one forced the individual. No one held a gun to their head. You didn't just walk down the street and on the corner fall into someone's bed. No, it didn't happen that way. It was a choice that was made. So don't blame the betrayed spouse for what they did or did not do as being the cause that led to the affair. Another thing to avoid is not creating boundaries. You absolutely, absolutely must have boundaries during the affair recovery process. Boundaries on the relationship in terms of what is or is not allowed, what is and is not acceptable, with real consequences when those boundaries are violated. You can forgive, but that doesn't mean that you don't enforce consequences when the boundaries are violated. So when you are on that the road to affair recovery, the things you want to avoid trying to take a shortcut. You want to avoid minimizing. You want to avoid being prideful. You want to avoid blaming. And you want to avoid not creating boundaries. So thank you so much for watching today, another episode of Marriage Minute brought to you by Marriage Beyond the Breach. And if you and your partner have experienced an affair or even a close call in your marriage, your committed relationship, reach out to us at Marriage Beyond the Breach and we can help you navigate through the recovery process. Again, it's marriagebeyondthebreach.com, marriagebeyondthebreach.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.